I wanted to be a basketball player when I was a kid. I had a jersey for every single day of the week, but I ended up being the shortest boy in school. There is no key. What does that mean? It means I've learned, and this is my firm belief, that there is no one size magic pill key to success for everybody. I think it's a combination lock.
Every single hire that you make affects you personally. And you have to think about that before you make that hire, because you hire the wrong person for your team, you're bringing yourself down along with it.
It's hearing stories like that give us permission to fail a little bit and give us permission to not see these setbacks as an end, rather an opportunity to learn and grow.
At the end of the day, if you can help even one person, it's worth it. Whatever time and effort you put into it, it's worth it. From underdog to influential entrepreneur, today's guest is on a mission to change 1 million lives. Join me as we dive into the inspiring journey of Ben Albert, the mastermind behind Balbert Marketing and the Real Business Connections Network. Welcome to the show, Ben.
I'm excited to be here. You put a ton of effort in. This show kicks butt. So honored to spend some time with you, Mike. This is going to be
fun. Thank you. No, I'm really appreciate you being here. I know it's not easy to give up some of your time and show up and speak to people who you don't even know. So really appreciate it. The first question I have for you though is, can you tell me about your early days and the challenges you faced as an underdog starting out your career?
Wow, that's a big question. To give you a little bit of background without going too deep, I wanted to be a basketball player when I was a kid. I had a jersey for every single day of the week, but I ended up being the shortest boy in school. A girl named Olivia Lee. So what happens when you're the nerdy basketball guy, but you're tiny? You get picked around, you get bullied, this and that. And there was a lot of struggles in my household as well. So I didn't imagine I'd be like Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or Brené Brown or Oprah. I just wanted to figure out how to fit in. And from a young age, growing every single day became important to me because I was the little kid. I was the outlier. So I learned how to grow and basically grew my way into a sales executive role. And on the side was a music junkie. So I had a music podcast on the side, was a sales executive for a marketing firm. And then COVID hit. I had just started my role at this new firm. Last one in, first one out. I found myself unemployed, not sure what the next move was going to be. And music, Ben, was non-essential, quite literally, was unemployed and was broke. And a lot of the listeners aren't accidental entrepreneurs like I am. But the real key, and we can talk about some of the different things that I've learned, was leaning on mentors, asking for help, finding team players, finding peers. And for me, launching a podcast, no longer on music, but on business, launching a marketing firm. And now you have to pinch yourself that COVID feels like it was forever ago, but by now reaching millions of people with my message and helping a lot of business owners with what I do. I hope that answers your question, but I was an accidental entrepreneur the entire way.
So tell me about your mission to impact 1 million lives.
Yeah.
What made you come up with that?
The key word, and I don't know if I put it in, it's in my head. I don't know if it's on the sheet of paper on my speaker kit or whatever, but the key word is actually impact. And really the background behind that is in like a marketing world and in a society where everyone's a content creator and everyone's posting. It's easy to post a picture of your Lamborghini and look cool. It's easy to post a Bugatti car or a beautiful girl or your fitness goals. But I'm not convinced that actually moves the needle on someone's life. My goal is to create those light bulb moments in listeners and audience and team members, in myself hosting a podcast. It's to create those light bulb aha moments that actually just a single change of thought, just a single move of the needle over a long time horizon, you move in a completely different direction. So my goal is to help move people in that different, even the slightest change can take them to a completely different pace. And 1 million people, I don't know how to actually, I know I've reached more than 1 million with my content. I don't know how to actually measure that I hit 1 million. But what's the worst that could happen? I get like 999,000. I think I still did a good job. So I'm into it.
I would agree with that. So do you have any kind of examples or a story from a conversation you had on your Real Business Connections podcast that you believe had a significant impact on someone's life?
I'll talk. So probably millions, and millions, I'm exaggerating, but like every podcast, I learned something new. The listener learned something new. I do have people reaching out to me, but I think it's easiest enough for me to provide just a personal example, because I am like super rational, data oriented. Like I like logic. And now a current mentor and good friend of mine on one of my earlier podcasts, his name is Brian Bogert. He is very much into like the full approach. Like it requires mindset, which is hard to get data on, but mindset. It requires active listening, requires teamwork and leadership. And it's hard to get specific metrics on those kind of things. So I was asking him like strategic questions, and he said something of the likes of life isn't just about strategy and tactics. And that was like an aha moment for me, that I can strategize all day, but it's about implementation. It's about communication. It's about health. It's about well-being. I was looking very much at the rational end of things, but I was missing a lot of the nuances in my life. How am I treating a team member? How am I treating a client? How am I treating my loved one?
Feeling overwhelmed? Drowning into deuce? It's time to reclaim your life and transform your leadership. The Decentralized A-Team Handbook gives you the strategies to build a high-performing, autonomous team. Delegate effectively. Communicate with impact. Achieve extraordinary results.
And how is that seeping into? So then I went on a 2-year journey of self-discovery, thinking about if life's not just about strategy, if it's a little more holistic, how can I find the right combination for Ben? And it's a constant evolution. We never have it all completely figured out.
So through that journey, what are some key lessons or insights that you've learned that might be crucial for aspiring entrepreneurs and underdogs to hear?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to grab this. It'll take me 2 seconds, but I literally made a keychain out of it. And this keychain is a constant reminder to myself. And it says, there is no key.
I like it.
So it's a keychain that says no key, there is no key. What does that mean? It means I've learned, and this is my firm belief, that there is no one size magic pill key to success for everybody. I think it's a combination lock, similar to a padlock on a gym locker. Each and every one has their own unique combination. That's exactly why they take your fingerprint when you get in trouble, because we have a unique fingerprint. We have a unique DNA code. So it's doing the self-discovery of, in leadership, it's what's my leadership style. In teamwork, it's what are my team members good at? What is the combination at this business? In terms of getting better at what we do, it's what mentors am I surrounding myself with? What strategies am I implementing? What personal work am I doing? All of that is like basic mentors, habits. All of it is finding our own combination. Understanding we're different. Playbooks work, but you learn the playbook and then you learn how to audible. You learn how to run your own plays. You learn how to teach people how to run those plays. You teach them how to learn how to audible. Analogies aside, it's really just finding what works best for us. And then when we understand those skills, those habits, those team members, the company culture, the company work, we have an understanding of that DNA. It's easy to be successful. We just unlock that every single day once we have that clarity.
I love the lock analogy because I run as part of my coaching business, I run a mastermind here in Vegas for people who want to get up and running a little faster. They don't want to spend an entire year working through something. And so they come out here, and one of the more common questions I'll get asked, it's a framework. So it's not do this, then do this. It's just a framework of how to make things happen. And I'll have people say, oh, my situation is really different. How can I possibly adapt to this? It's a framework. It's like a ladder. You got a ladder that's tall enough, you can climb almost anything. You got a framework that works. As long as you plug in all your parts, it just works. And so I'll say to them, that's actually one of the cool things about the program is it doesn't matter your situation. You can take what you learn here, apply it to your situation and change things. Right. Cut your hours, improve the capabilities of your team. You made the comment about mentors and having the right mentors around. And we've all heard that you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. Well, I think some of the things that executives forget is their team is who they spend the most time with. And if they're hiring people who are mediocre just because they feel bad for them or they want to help them out, it's not going to work out really well for them. And that's one of the things that I teach them is that every single hire that you make affects you personally. And you have to think about that before you make that hire, because if you hire the wrong person for your team, you're bringing yourself down along with it. It just is what it is.
It's so true.
So how are you balancing all these roles that you have? You're an entrepreneur, you're a podcast host, you're a public speaker, and then you have this mission to help other people. So how are you balancing all of that?
Yeah, this is a little existential, but I've done a lot of self-discovery and I wrote down my goals and I understand my values. We can go into all of that, but I have clarity on just what do I value? What am I trying to accomplish? And I ask myself the question, is this in alignment with who I am and who I am becoming is like the goals? I'm crushing it now, but I have goals for the future. So I ask myself the question, is this decision in alignment with who I am currently and who I am looking to become? And if it's not in alignment, I say no to it. So you mentioned a podcast, you mentioned some public speaking, you mentioned a marketing firm, so of a mastermind networking group. It's all based around getting the knowledge from the folks who have it to the folks who need it. Getting wisdom, knowledge, services, ideas from people who have it, people looking for it. And as a marketer, I help businesses find the right clients. As a podcaster, I help people find the right information. As a masterminder, it's peer-to-peer sharing. In all cases, Ben gets to serve as a bridge from the people who have it to the people who need it. And if something is falling out of line with that vision of closing the gap, I think lack of education is one of our biggest expenses. In companies, lack of good training is a big expense. If I can help close that gap, it's easy to say yes to it. So that's how I juggle. I feel, and part of it is getting exhausted. It hurts juggling things, but I love what I do, so I do it anyways.
It's always easier to keep doing things that you enjoy. That's for dang sure. Yeah. So in your experience, when you're helping a client, what are the most common challenges that they face, and how do you help them overcome those?
I guess it depends on the category. Do we want to talk about a marketing client?
Yeah, let's talk about a marketing client.
Okay, a marketing client. Honestly, a big challenge is people just don't want to feel needy. They don't want to be too loud. They don't want to stand out. They feel like they do good work, which is true. So they don't understand. They don't feel like they need to market. So it's like the biggest one I hear is my number one way to get clients is word of mouth. I've been living off referrals for 20 years. Amazing sign. That means you deliver a good product, good service, people are happy. If we market what you do, you're just going to do better. But I feel like people don't want to stand out. They don't want to be braggadocious. They don't want to talk about themselves. And that's difficult because the person who doesn't have a good product and service, the person who's not quite as good, is actually stealing that person's customers because they're putting all their money. They've been in business 3 years. They're putting $50,000 a year in marketing. They're stealing customers from the person that actually does a good job. So it's getting through that mental block that I don't want to market. Like it's the 2020s. You have to market, and it helps them maintain, have better longevity. It makes it easier for them to sell their business. But it's really that mental barrier that, I don't really need marketing because I didn't need it 20 years ago.
You know, thinking back to the pandemic, I think a lot of food businesses were forced rather rapidly to get better at marketing because they could no longer rely on you like just cruising by the street and go, oh, I want to get this food here. You had to be intentional about that because you really weren't supposed to be outside for as much as we normally were. And it's funny to me because I see it now. There's businesses who learned the annoying method of doing marketing where they just bombard you with message after message. But then there's some who've just gotten rather skillful at like getting their message out there in a way that intrigues you to go to their place of business. And I think those businesses are the ones that are going to take off because they finally learned how to reach their target customer and reel them in. Because I feel like if you were a restaurant and you managed to survive the pandemic, think about what you did and go all in on it, because that time period for restaurants and bars and places like that was not good business wise. It's just interesting to me. When what you said, it's not 2020 anymore. I thought that's the pandemic time period. So interesting. But let's talk about your podcast a little bit, because I was browsing here and you've had a lot of interesting guests on your show. Some I would love to have on this show actually. But what's one maybe the most unexpected lesson that you've learned from a guest on your show?
The most unexpected. These are big questions. These are like sit down and think questions. The most unexpected lesson I've learned from a guest. I think I just stumped myself. I'm going through the catalog.
Can't think of
Here's
one.
the thing. The thing is, like, guests have brought different things to the table for different reasons. Amberly Lago is one of my favorite stories, and she was a guest. She was a model and a dancer, and she was like the pretty blonde girl on the products you'd see, the makeup products, the cosmetology products. And she was in MC Hammer's video, Can't Touch This. Like, she was one of the backup dancers. And she's riding her motorcycle and she gets hit by a truck. And the short version is she was told she was never going to walk again. And then the next doctor said, you're never going to walk again. And she kept on seeing doctors until someone even gave her a fraction of hope, because she knew from the start, I'm going to walk like I'm a dancer. And to fast forward, she tells the full story better, but to fast forward, she's running at the beach. And it's hearing stories like that give us permission to fail a little bit and give us permission to not see these setbacks as an end, rather an opportunity to learn and grow. And for me, just hearing stories like that is brilliant. But then different guests bring different things to the table. Like, I had Hey Jay, who's one of the biggest LinkedIn influencers in the world, and he basically gave us a free masterclass. So that's irreplaceable as well.
Yeah, no, this is the 88th interview I've done for this show, and I've learned something from everybody. I would have a hard time answering that question as well. It's been so crazy that I started probably about halfway through the 88 episodes. I decided we have one of the businesses we run is an online merch shop. So we sell t-shirts, hats, mugs, whatever. And we're just launching this. I just started pulling quotes from episodes. I'm actually wearing one right now. Let me see if I can get on the screen so it can be seen. Let's see, there we go. So we got a shirt with a quote and then the person's name. And this one says, the C in C level means confidence. I'm starting to put these shirts out because every single guest has at least one really huge gem of information that they provide. And sometimes it's even started with, I don't know how helpful this will be for your listeners, but then I hear it and it blows my mind of what they said. And so I wanted a way to keep that stuff perpetual and have it out there. And it's going on the merch. We'll see what happens, but I love it. It's just a fun idea, and it's a way to get the learnings out there. And that's why when we do these shows, we put out quote cards and whatnot. It's interesting. Those are the posts that everyone says, oh, you got to put out the video snippets. I do that, but it's the quotes that get the most comments, because it makes look, when people see it, and especially out of context, they're like, wow, that's like mind blowing. And they start to ask questions. I love stuff like that. I think if people want to learn and they want to take the time, running a podcast on whatever niche you're in is a great idea, because you learn so much from other people. that you make connections. That's one of the things when I was reading through notes for you last week, when I was prepping for today, I love like that you have the goal to help other people. That's my thing too. I love helping people. So one of the things we did here is we started a podcast called Sin City Soundwaves. We haven't released an episode yet, but we've recorded a few. And the idea is to help local bands succeed, give them a spot for exposure. And I explained to them, like, this isn't one of those shows where you're going to come on, have an interview, and then never come back again. We want you to keep coming back. You got a new EP coming out. Come back and talk to us about it. You're going on a small tour with some other band. Come back and talk to us about it. We want it to be like a conduit where they can get their info out to people. It's really hard these days because the music industry's changed so much, and there's not as many promotional avenues that, say, a record label provides, because most people are doing it independently now and just sticking music out on Spotify and making a penny a year. It's just not really the greatest thing. So I love when I saw that your mission was to help people. I was really excited to talk to you because that's us too. At the end of the day, if you can help even one person, it's worth it. Whatever time and effort you put into it, it's worth it. That's how I feel anyway. So do you have any like strange or unusual like habits or routines that you swear by in your daily life that you just do every day?
I don't know if it's strange or unusual, but I think it's unusual, probably the depth of my habits and routines. It all started and I've iterated. I won't give every detail because it's just crazy the amount of things I do. You think I'm crazy and you wouldn't be wrong. But it all started with 10 years ago reading The Miracle Morning with Hal Elrod.
Yep,
and
good book.
To break that down, silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, inscribing. It's the acronym SAVER: silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, scribing. And I take each of those my own direction, but I do all of those every morning. I chug a bunch of water. I have some nootropic medicine I take every morning. I have a gratitude journal where I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. I've been cheating on this, but I try to make an introduction or an outreach to someone I haven't talked to in quite some time. It's a simple tool. You just scroll down on your most popular messaging app and it won't take long. Losing my voice. It won't take long until you see someone you haven't talked to in ages. Send 1 message a day. That's 365 messages a year. That's countless messages over your lifetime. And you talked about it. You help one person. Who knows what comes of that? So it's sending 1 positive message a day. It's doing my savers. Really at the core, it's just moving my body. It's moving my brain, and it's doing something creative every single day. And I can go deeper if you want, but I can't lead others or help others if I'm not helping myself first. So all of this happens. I pull up a device to send the message, but all this happens before I even pick up my phone. That's the bend time, the first hour of the day.
I had on one of my other podcasts, I had Jordan Harbinger as a guest, and he recommends for networking, take your phone, go to your messages, scroll to the very, very bottom and find the last person in your list and send them some kind of a message. And he said you can do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 a day. Just do 1 a day. And then the next day you'd scroll to the end, you'd find the last person. You just keep doing that. And I tried that 1 year just religiously. And it's crazy, like the number of people who reach out about different things. And, I forgot all about you. Let's talk. And the number of business opportunities that it opens up. It really is crazy. It's just a simple act of reaching out to people and saying, hey, we haven't talked in a long time. How's it going? So I'm in line with that. I do a lot of the things that you do as well. I've got a modified version of the morning routine that I do, and it works for me. And it's like one of the things that's key for me. It's always been is exercise in the morning, because we never know what our day holds once it starts. But if you go and, like you said, you can't help others if you're not helping yourself first. I go to that gym and try to take care of myself, be a little healthier first thing, because if I don't, let's say I'll go at 10 o'clock today. Doesn't happen. I have to go first thing before the day starts. So here's Interesting question for you. Let's see how you take to this one. So if you could create a new holiday and everyone had to celebrate it, what would it be and how would people celebrate it?
New holiday, everyone has to celebrate it. What would it be? Real quick before I answer that, thanks for mentioning Jordan Harbinger, because I stole that practice from him.
Is that where it came from?
Long ago. It's exactly where it came from.
Yeah,
so I appreciate you actually attributing the guy who came up with it.
Brilliant. That guy's brilliant. He really is. And he was even more brilliant live on the show. I could have talked to him for hours.
He's a genius. So a holiday, he's a podcaster, you're a podcaster, I'm a podcaster, a little bit biased. I'd love to have podcast day. We talked about even like business owners or leaders like not wanting to be the center of attention. We even joked in the green room about just click record. That would be the theme of the day. You get on a podcast, you just click record, and who knows, maybe we never share it. But taking the time to go deep in interaction with someone for 20, 30, 60 minutes is actually something that a lot of people don't do all the time. And maybe you do a podcast episode where you're host and an episode when you're guest. It's happening today. When you're a guest, people ask you questions that you maybe have never answered before, and it gets you thinking. So it's a day that we're going to basically call it podcast day, but it's for curiosity. It's for conversation. It's for self-growth. And by interviewing someone and being interviewed, whether or not the world sees it or not, I think we can learn a lot from each other.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like one piece of advice I got ages ago, before I was comfortable on video, was sit down, record 60 to 90 seconds on your phone every single day. Don't even plan on posting it, just record it. And it's amazing how just doing something over and over again, you just get so comfortable with it that you don't even think about it anymore. At this point, whenever one of our businesses needs a sales video or whatever, I'm always nominated to do it because I don't care. It doesn't scare me. I just sit down and do it. And if you make a mistake, you can edit it. Who cares? It's what it is. So why don't you let the listeners know where they can connect with you?
Yeah, we talked about the podcast, right? First, they're your listeners. I'm honored to be on this show. You haven't hit subscribe on this show, 5 stars, leave a comment or a review. I'd recommend you do that first because you can find real business connections anywhere you found this. So if I failed you, just Google it, but real business connections, wherever you found this, and you can hear my podcast there.
Great. I appreciate your time here today. Like we've said, it's not easy when we have multiple balls in the air, taking some time out to sit down and talk to somebody else, but it's a valuable experience, as you said. So really appreciate you being here.
Oh, dude, this was easy for me to take time to spend time with you. So I'll do it anytime. Thanks,
awesome.
Mike.
Thanks everyone for being here to listen to another episode of Getting the Technology Leadership Edge. We come out every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, YouTube and LinkedIn and everywhere else where podcasts are heard, like Ben said. I hope to see you back here next week for another great episode.